What's up guys, Lifting here, welcome back to the Path of Exile Survival Guide, episode number 6. We are continuing where we left off from the last time, which was around Merveil's Caverns, and then we're moving into Act 2 after having defeated the end boss of Act 1, Merveil. So there's always a lot to talk about in Path of Exile, but I also want to get some actual progression in for you guys out there, so we're not standing around in Act 1 forever or Act 2. We want to get into the good stuff too. So we're going to focus a little on just progressing a little today. There's a few things I just real quick want to mention to you before we do get started, and that is that there are some useful chat commands that you can use that might help you out when you're playing the game instead of relying on having to click. And I wrote them down over here. So one of the things that I feel like you should know is that if you want to see like the commands, first of all, you can always type /help, right? That gives you a list. But one of the useful ones, so some of the useful ones would be played. It shows how many hours you've been playing this character or been logged in on this character. You can also type age. That tells you how long ago that 36 days, holy fuck, man. It's already so. Well, it tells you how long ago it was that this character was created. 36 days ago, and we're level 13. Either way, you can type deaths. This will tell you how many times you've died on this character. We have died 0 times. We aim to keep that as low as possible. You can type remaining. This is not as useful as it used to be in the past. Basically, it tells you how many monsters that are remaining in the zone and instance you're in. Back in the day, when you had your map open, it wouldn't tell you how many monsters that were remaining. Right now, this is almost like implemented into the map up here in the corner. You can't see it right now, but you can see it if you're in a map and such. The point was to make sure that you got the most out of your map. You didn't leave any monsters left out, so you got the most loot and hopefully like a map return or something like that. Then you can do this one here, and this is very useful. You can /passives. When you type /passives, it gives you a list of the total passive skill points that have been allocated via, well, first of all, skill tree, but also from quests. And the most useful one here is the one from quests, because throughout the game, there's lots of optional quests that will give you skill points, and sometimes it can be a little hard to keep track of if you've gotten them all. So one thing to know is that if you play any other character than the Scion, at the current time in the game at least, any other character than the Scion, and you kill all the bandits in Act 2, then once you've completed the game, this one here should say 24 passive skill points from quests. That means you've gotten 24 extra skill points from if you've completed all the optional quests. If it says less than that, it's because you are missing a quest. If you're playing the Scion, you have a few more skill points. And if you're playing, or if you kill the bandits, you will have 2 less skill points. So keep that in mind. But in general, if you kill the bandits and not a Scion, it should just say 24 passive skill points from quests. And if you then, if it says less, you'll have to find out which quest it is that you need. And the nice thing is that it will type that here for you. It's not going to show it for us here yet because we haven't encountered those quests or areas where they are in. But at some point I'll show you this again. It will give you a long list of all the quests that you may or may not have completed. Then you can of course also do like the standard /invite, /kick, /friend, /ignore. And you just, for all of these, you just leave the character name after that, and it will invite you to the party. It will kick them from the party. It will add them as a friend or send them a friend request, or it will ignore them. And those are all, you know, pretty standard but very useful things. Then you have your typical /AFK, and this just lets people know that if they are whispering you, then you are not here. You can also do AFK, preparing or peppering the Angus, and that will then leave that message, right? So this is good if you... It's nice when you do trading. One of the frustrating things sometimes is when people aren't reachable. So if someone just went AFK but they didn't type it, or they didn't leave a note or something like that, then you're kind of waiting for them to get back to you. And this is a big problem in Path of Exile, the whole trading thing, in regards to communicating and getting the deals done, because a lot of people tend to be AFK, especially later in the league. In the beginning, it's always pretty good because people are actively playing and such. At the end of leagues, people are having the game minimized to just do trades, but they're not always there and they don't hear it. That's a long range, but that can be a little annoying. The thing is, it of course, as soon as you move, AFK mode goes off. But you can also do auto reply, and then have whatever same principle here. You can type whatever you want. If you put on auto reply, wasn't it? I did it like this: auto reply beef. Then anyone who types a message to me will get this message back. I do this, for instance, when I'm starting up the stream. I do auto reply. Wow, I can't type right now. Booting. Okay, yeah, I can. Booting up the stream. I'll get back to you later or something like that, right? The thing is, and I think this is... did I say I stink? I think this is still the case that, and this is very unfortunate, but when you enter a new zone after having set the auto-reply message, the message tends to disappear, or it is possible they actually fixed that. I think they may have fixed it not too long ago. I always found that very frustrating because you don't want to type it every time you go from one zone to another. That would be every time you create a new map and such. But either way, as you can see here, you can set an auto reply. This does not break when you move. So if you are just playing, you don't want to talk to anyone, but you don't want to go D&D because you still want to have your trades going through, then you can do something like that. And on that note, you can do D&D with a note here too. And basically this just prevents people from being able to whisper you. The message does not go through, and they will get the standard D&D message, display as D&D mode enabled, or they will get the whatever message you type out for them. So another thing you can do here, which is very useful, is you can do /hideout. This will take you to the hideout you have selected. If you have a hideout, if you don't have a hideout yet, it won't work. That's obviously very useful. You can also bind this to a macro so that you can push a single key in order to do so. Similarly, you can do /menagerie. This will take you to your menagerie. So I bound this to my F6 button, so I press that. That was a terrible demonstration. We have not completed any of Einar's quests yet in this league, so I can't show you. But basically, you get the point. I press F6, it will take me to that. And I've bound my F5 key to my hideout. So when I press F5, it will take me to my hideout. This is very nice. This saves you a lot of time because it's where trades typically take place. People will come to your hideout if they want to buy from you, and you should come to their hideout if you want to buy from them. And it's also going to be useful to know in case you haven't noticed already, but when you're in a party, of course the party icon shows up here, or the player. And if you want to go to the player to trade, there is this small blue icon on his portrait. When you click that, it will take you from your current location to his location. Sometimes you can't travel from any location. It depends, and it also depends on his location. It depends on if you've unlocked the quests and so forth, and if you're liable to enter that zone. But it's the fastest way to get to that person. But typically, let's say you are someone is inviting you because you're doing a trade. you want to buy from him. You can see he's running around in the dried lake. Most likely, if you're buying a specific item, he's not going to have that item on him. So wait for him to leave that zone. You can see he goes into a hideout. It will show you like the area that he's in, right? And then click the button, go to his hideout, and then you can trade. It's otherwise you'll just end in the dried lake and you both have to go back, right? And I can quickly show you what it is that I do for my macros. For something like this, to bind my keys for various chat commands, I use something called LotBot, and it's not a bot. It confuses a lot of people, and they think it's against the rules. It's a bot, blah blah blah. It's not a bot. It's a script. It's a macro AHK macro script. So you can see here. We're gonna go much more into this at a later point because I use this a lot for trading. But for the very simple thing that I want to show you now is basically that I have set my control 5. No, not control 5. Sorry. F6 has been set to Menagerie, and that means that when I press this hotkey, this is what it will type in chat, and it will take me to the Menagerie. Then there is the hideout down here. Travel to hideout, you press F5. A thing I also use a lot is the whisper hotkeys up here. So if, for instance, I'm in the lab and I'm farming something, or if I'm running a timed Sana event where I can't go out and trade with them instantly as they whisper me, then I've made a few hotkeys here. For instance, control 1, when I press that, it will say, typically people will whisper me, hey, I want to buy this, and then it will reply, sure, if you can wait 1 minute, I'm in the mine, and then I will give them, a chance to reply to that. So if they still want to trade, they can reply to me, and then they will know that I need to finish this, and I can go back and trade with them when they are ready. Another thing is that if I have a popular item that I get a lot of whispers from, then I have a hotkey to say sold, sorry. Because sometimes you get spammed like 10 whispers for one item and you already sold it. So instead of having to write it yourself, right? And I have the, I'm in the lab, do you want me to whisper me once I get out? Same principle as this one up here with the mine. Basically to prevent myself from having to stop up and type while I'm in the lab and there's traps going on and all that stuff. And to give people an honest chance to figure out if they should wait around for me. And then control 4, I use that. All right, I'll hit you up in a moment. That's basically, so how it typically goes if someone wants to trade and I'm in the lab, I'll say, they'll whisper me and say, hey, I would like to buy this. I'll reply, I'm in the lab, do you want me to whisper me later? They will say, if they're interested, they are going to say, sure, sounds good. And then I will press control 4. All right, I'll hold you up in a moment. So basically, I've automated the process of talking to people if I want to do trades and I'm busy doing something else or something like that. And then for control 5, that says, thanks, take care. And that looks something like that. Okay, we are in D&D, but it looks something like this. And I post that in local because sometimes you get other whispers. And if you whisper it back to them, then, well, it's easier if it's local. Let's put it like that. And one thing that's very useful for you to know is that if someone is whispering you and you just want to whisper back to that person, press Control-Enter on your keyboard. Control-Enter will select the last person who whispered you. Instead of you having to do the name, right? So that might save you a bit of time. But we're gonna, I have a lot of macros and third-party tools and such that helps make the game a little more streamlined, and I'm going to talk about these later, but not until we get into a bit more trading and cover some more basics. It's a little more optional and advanced, I guess, but it helps a lot. But we've talked a lot about this now. Let's head into some actual content. We're going to try out our self-cast Arc right now. It's currently linked to added lightning damage and onslaught. And then once we eventually get over to Ancestral Bond, we're going to start just using totems with it, relying on totems alone instead of the freezing pulse totem I have right now. It's mostly for the fun of it. It's going to be some nice supplemental damage, but it's not really useful. Once we get Ancestral Bond, and that's another thing, of course, then we can't use damage or cast skills that damage ourselves anymore. So we have to rely on the totems themselves. But it's going to be good. This is going to be very powerful once we get there. So how about we head out now? Or actually, I can see we haven't gotten a skill point from the Bestel or the Pirate quest. Let's grab that. And there we go. So actually, we can see it now. If we type /passives, we now see we have one from the Dweller of the Deep. That's the Granddaddy Crab we killed earlier. And then we have one from Marooned Mariner, you know. Either way, we also... No, let's continue. Like, we can talk about prophecies later. We'll spend our skill point though. And then we will go to Merveil's Caverns. Let's put on our clarity so we have some proper mana regen. We'll remove it from our slot again. Just for the sake of it, we are using Flame Dash too. We're using that to trigger our Arcane Search so we get more mana regen, more spell damage, more cast speed, which translates to the totem too actually. It's not only your character that benefits from it. As long as the buff is on your character, then everything you are casting with it will benefit. So let's head onwards here. Oh, it's gonna be nice. I've been looking forward to playing around with Arc again. It's one of my favorite spells, at least. Ooh, we got an essence over here. Let's see what it is. It's a low level one, of course, because we're in a low level zone. We got a life flask upgrade there too. Essence of Greed, that's excellent. Essence of Greed is probably, or arguably, the most useful of all the essences in the beginning. Because it's that type of essence that can give you life on your armor pieces. So if you're running low on life, you don't have enough flat life on your gear, and you specifically want to craft something like that, you can use a life essence. We'll get rid of that. There's no point in selling it. It's not worth the time invested for that. And clarity leveled up. And as you can see, like, it reserves more and more mana, of course, the higher it goes up. But at some point, we're going to have so much mana that we're not really going to notice it. It's going to take it, like, max 5%, I think, of our total. And then we will... Let's see. I think I may have, while we did it, I think I may have leveled the Arcane Search a little too high. The issue when you level Arcane Search a little too high is that the mana requirement for it to proc and give you the bonus is higher too. So it actually did look like it went off on one here. Let's see, we can see it here. And then I'll set the hotkey here. My Arcane Search is currently at level 5. It has a requirement of 22 mana with supported skills. And what is the cost of this one here? Yeah, Flame Dash. We have to do Flame Dash twice to activate Arcane Search. Preferably, we want it to just be every single time we do it. So it would be better for me to go back and buy a low-level Arcane Search. I mean, Flame Dashing twice is not too bad, but it's just more reliable that way. And of course, as the skills level up, Flame Dash becomes more expensive. If you link it with more support gems, that gives a mana multiplier too. So you can get them higher, but unless you use Arcane Search, okay, it's level 5 as a minimum 2. So screw it. We can de-level gems. We're not going to do that right now. I'll show you that later. You can use a Scour, Orb of Scour, with the gem and trade it to a vendor. And that will de-level it by 1. Or you can use it with an Orb of Regret. That will take a gem from, let's say, level 17 to level 1, 2. It just takes it all the way down. We spent the life points. That is the Exploder Squids. Freezes you when activated. Now that's probably not at this level here, but at higher levels, that's by far one of the absolute most dangerous affixes that a chest can have. And a good way to solve that is to have a flask that has the suffix cannot be frozen. I typically always have that on my characters unless I have some other way of preventing it, because otherwise you are going to have to be so much more careful around the chests. And I can't be bothered to stop up and identify it every time. At least not if I'm playing in softcore. If I'm playing hardcore, I'm a little more reluctant, right? Playing more safe. but in general, it's just nice if you have that. So we actually have it on this one here. I should have shown it to you, then demonstrated it. But you can see Quicksilver Flask of Heat. The flask of heat is a suffix, and that is the one that grants immunity to freeze and chill during flask effect. So if we proc this as we go over and open a chest, and it secretly has that freezes when opens affix on it, then this will prevent that from happening. And nothing, yeah, we're basically, we're not affected by it. And now, boys and girls, the first Act 1 boss, world first, Merveil. We're going to set up a portal. That's in general always a good idea if you're fighting a boss, so if in case you die, you have quick access to come back to it, right? Another thing to notice, I'll show you this as an example here. Let's say we went out to refill our flasks because we didn't get enough flask charges during the fight and we don't want to die. We go back to town, they refill. Then once we go back in again, you need to take notice of the grace period up here. For 30 seconds, once it's at full duration, you can't be damaged. That means that let's say the boss is right next to you, they can't damage you. But if you have like a golem that's running around or some kind of minion, for some reason they aren't affected by it and then we'll try to attack it and such, but not so important. But during this grace period, you can also set up a new portal and it will not break it. And then you need to move around. As soon as this is over, they will start attacking you if you are within range. So we're going to go against Merveil now. And let's set up our amazing Freezing Pulse Totem. Again, if you guys are following this for the build, just know you don't have to use that. It's just something optional we have right now. But it is supplemental damage. We might as well make use of it. And we're dealing some pretty okay damage here. It's not too bad. That +1 lightning wand that we crafted in the last episode together with the Arcane Surge proc and regular Arc Self-Cast is doing pretty well here. Clarity is making it so that we're not having too much trouble with the mana. And let's get the Arcane Surge proc here. And then we're just gonna go hamburger on her. You see, Merveil's damage is primarily cold damage. So one thing that makes the Merveil fight a lot smoother and a lot easier if you're having trouble with her is to make sure you have a bit of cold resist. And, oh, new Quicksilver Flask. That's good. If you check your character sheet, press C on your keyboard, go into defense. We've talked a little about this, but you can see your resistances here, right? For us, we have 16 fire res, 25 cold res, and 44 lightning res. Let's say you had a bit more trouble with Merveil. Then increasing your cold resistance can be a very effective way of making the fight significantly easier. In order to do that, or the easiest way to do that at this point in the game would be going back to Nessa and then looking for an item here. Now you can't always rely on it being available, and I actually think we're in one of those cases where it isn't, but you see the Topaz ring here? Typically she will have a Sapphire ring too. Sapphire rings grants cold resist. So you can buy these, either 1 or 2 depending on what you need, and equip that, and it will just increase your cold resist a lot and make the fight significantly easier in case you're having trouble with it. Now, you're probably not going to have that much trouble with it. It's not the worst of fights, but if you are speed leveling or something like that and you are not that well prepared in that sense, then sometimes it can make a big difference. But she also used to be harder, Merveil. I think we've had a bit of power creep in Path of Exile. But still, it's a good fight. So she had 2 phases, as you saw. She goes from golden woman, beautiful and attractive, to this thing here, a big lizard squid, not golden, but even more attractive. And then there's crabs in here. But it means we've completed Act 1. We're going into Act 2 now. If we press here, you see this is the final zone. We're going to go up here into the southern forest, and if you want, you can read her diary. We're not rude, so we're not going to read her diary. You automatically get the waypoints when entering the new zone of an act, so you don't have to worry about that. You can always see that by glowing blue too. This is now Act 2. We can see that up here. If you press U on your keyboard, Act 1, you can still see where there's a couple of quests we didn't do there, but that's intentional, right? And then in Act 2, we currently have the way forward. This is a quest we want to do because it grants us a skill point. We will have to go down towards this area to do that. We're not going to do that as the first thing. Act 2 branches into like 2 different directions. I'll show you that once we get to town. And we might as well just continue from here. We can see the monster level is 13. Ooh, an Orb of Fusing. We also need to go over all the currency use at some point, but the Orb of Fusing that just dropped now is always a useful currency type to get. It basically makes it so that if you have sockets on your gear, say you have 4 sockets, and they aren't linked, then with an Orb of Fusing, you have a chance of getting them linked. But it's a chance, and do we want to try and use it on something? I think I'll save it. You're not guaranteed to get 4 links, but you'll have to spend a couple of Orb of Fusings in general, and then eventually you will get 4 links. Sometimes you get lucky and get it in 1. If you're really, really lucky, you get something 6 linked, which is typically just a 2-handed weapon or a chest. The other ones have a maximum of 4 sockets, and you could also get 5 links. That's rather lucky too. Typically, when people say, at least with the old rules, that to get a 5 link, you typically get that in 1 5 link in 125 fusings. Okay? To get a 6 link, it's 1 in 1200. So yeah, those are expensive. You can sometimes get very lucky if you just spend a single one and you get it. I've tried that before. It's a good feeling. But don't expect it. It can also leave you with a very bitter taste in your mouth when you just don't get it and you've spent 3,000. Oh, I forgot to change the scene here. Sorry about that. Oh, and maybe you've seen it down here. Do you notice this? This is one of the third-party tools I use to. We're not going to go into that right now. Okay, so first thing we're going to do, we're going to check out if this is an adrenaline flask. No, but it has a very useful suffix for us too. It's a Surgeon's Quicksilver Flask. Surgeon implies the prefix, and the Flask of Staunching implies the suffix. Surging is what gives the 20% chance to gain a flash charge when you deal a critical strike. It's not really that useful for us because we're not crit based. But if you're playing a crit build, this can be very useful because it allows you to recharge flasks on boss fights where you otherwise typically are relying on kills to give you charges for your flasks. The Surgeons allows you to get it on crits too, besides the kills or on top of the kills. So Surgeon is generally a pretty good mod to get if you're playing a crit based build. The Staunching is very useful too because throughout the game there are monsters that will make you bleed, either via regular type of bleed or something called Corrupting Blood, and that can be very dangerous. It can take your character's health down very, very quickly. The only thing that really mitigates that is it's a form of physical mitigation, but I think it's pretty much only endurance charges that really has like a proper influence on it. I think maybe a Basalt Flask too might do it, but regular armor and such will not have any influence on the mitigation of bleed damage. But you'll get to see bleed damage. You probably, if you're further in the game, you've probably already encountered it and have seen how dangerous it can be when you aren't dealing with it. So Staunching, very useful, and we will probably just use it instead of. Let's use it instead of this one here. Although the silver, or not silver, I'm not sure what I'm saying here. Additional resistances are nice now while we're leveling. 21%. Since we're using our Quicksilver almost all the time, it's a big boost to our resistances when it's active. But let's just use the bleed here now for the sake of it. We're gonna put our currency into our stash. Put our essence in here. We now have 2 greed essences, and you can see this is the difference here. Now we have the lowest tier, and we have the second tier, which is called muttering, and the other one whispering. So it's basically indicated by their prefix, the name. Then let's take a look here. When you get into Act 2, well, first of all, we have Einar here. Well, we're gonna get some beast quests here. Meet Einar in the riverways. Let's do that now, then. We might want to do an Einar quest, so I can show you that too. Bestiary. Because there's a lot of interesting stuff you can do with the bestiary mods. We're of course not going to go into like all of the stuff you can do, because we haven't unlocked that at all, but that will basically, once we've done that, it will give us access to the menagerie, and we can go in there and I can show you how that works. Before we do so though, let me give you an introduction to Act 2. In Act 2, you have the forest encampment. This is your home. In here, this is where you'll get the quests like you did in the Lion's Eyes or Lion Eyes Watch. And from the forest encampment, there are 2 paths you can take. Basically, you'll be asked to complete quests in this direction here and in this direction here. These zones here have monster levels similar to any other zones. In order to do it most efficiently, however, so you don't over level and do all the quests over here at one time and then do all of them down here and, you know, not being fit for the level and getting diminished returns, or just not getting as much of it as you can. The best way, I think, typically to approach this is to go into the old fields, or it can be the other one too, but go into the old fields. We can see the monster level is 14, our character is 14 too. And then once we've gone through the old fields, I'm just going to skip the syndicate here for now, just for the sake of it. We will go through this and head into the crossroads, which is the next zone up here. I'm going to skip this here too. Essence of Woe, that's a good one too though, it's energy shield. And there we go. This will take us to the crossroads. I think we have to go back to that zone, guys, because that was a corrupted zone too. But either way, you go into the crossroads. As soon as you then run a little further up, you can see the monster level increased by 1, right? We're in a monster level 15 now. And again, this is another corrupted zone. This is important because the closer you are to the monster level, or as long as you aren't completely over leveled or under leveled, you will get the most efficient experience. We'll get the waypoint here. This is always going to be here in the middle. If you just follow the road through from the forest encampment, follow the road all the way up into the crossroads. This is level 15, you can see that. 14 here. Then you go back, you go to the forest encampment. And then we basically run the other way now. Because let's say you were actually... Oh, I'll just show you this here, we'll go back here later. It's not that big of a deal either, but basically to be the most efficient, you can do it this way here. And then the levels will fit more appropriately. So you follow the road here too. And it's always a good idea to have gotten yourself a movement skill for this zone here, because at some point you will encounter a broken bridge. And unless you have a movement skill, you will have to go all the way around. It slows you down. But keep following the bridge. This will encounter the waypoint, grab that. But instead of going back at that point, just continue a little further. And we will go down into the dark forest. If that's what it's still called. It used to be that. I'm not sure if it still is. It's Western Forest now, yeah. It used to be at 2 different zones. Then you can see this is a monster level 17 area. And then the waypoint is typically already there. The point I'm trying to make here is that you don't want to start by completing the 17 area down here and then go back into the little 15 area. Because that will give you less efficient experience as if you were to do the lower level zones first. If you have to do something in the low level zones to progress, then you might as well do those first to get the most efficient experience, so that you aren't less efficient when you then get to the higher level zones, if that makes any sense. So first get to the crossroads waypoint, then waypoint back, run through riverways into Western Forest, and then once you've done that, you actually go back to the crossroads. And then you can start completing the quests that are up here. Once you've completed the quests from that, you of course go back and turn it in. Then you can return to the Western Forest and start doing the quests down here. And I mean, it doesn't matter too much if you start doing the quests up here first as opposed to here. I think As far as I remember, it's like slightly more efficient up there. It's not really something that makes the biggest of difference in the world, but if you are concerned about just being efficient with your time, then that's one way of going about it. Now we know for our character also, we need to unlock some more labyrinth trials so we can get the labyrinth unlocked once we get to Act 3. We probably won't do it until Act 4 though, but we know that we want to do that, and there is one in the Fell Shrine, and there's one up in the Chamber of Sins. So we need to remember to get that once we go there. But there was a few things here in the Old Fields that was interesting to me, and that was there was a corrupted zone in the Old Fields, there was a corrupted zone in the Crossroads. Let's go and do those, because in the corrupted zones we can get Vol gems. Vol gems are modified gems. It's a Vol version of a gem. It basically means it's been corrupted, and sometimes they can be very, very useful, very, very powerful. It would be really damn nice if we could get Vol Righteous Fire or Vol Arc for the fun of it here, or Vol Blade Vortex for that matter, so we can use that. So let's go out and find that. There was also a Syndicate zone I wanted to do. I think it was a fortification, and wasn't there an essence too? So let's do that. Yeah, here's the Syndicate. Yes, so let's get this down. We're going to place our magnificent Frost Freezing Pulse Totem too. Very nice. And since the last time I made this video, the fortifications have actually been nerfed a little. There's less monsters spawning now. And they can no longer have rare monsters spawning in there. Wow. This guy is thinking. Now, Arc in itself is not like the greatest single target skill, but once you get enough levels on it, it actually starts to pick up. It becomes pretty damn good. In the past, it really sucked as a single target skill, but Arc was dramatically buffed in a couple of patches ago, a couple of leagues ago actually, and it's such a powerful skill right now. All right, so what we saw there was actually that because we didn't kill him fast enough, the person who was helping Jorgen out here, he fled. So we didn't get to benefit from that guy. We still got Jorgen down, we still completed the encounter, and we can still do whatever you do with the Syndicate boys now. But we weren't quick enough to get the other one, which is a shame, because it would be better to have two options to go from here, right? So we can imprison him, and we can move Chimeria to Fortification. Jorgen and Chimeria we can trust. I don't really want Chimeria at Fortification. I preferably want Chimeria over at Intervention. So I'm not going to do that. I actually do like Jorgen over at Intervention too. So to have a higher chance of moving Jorgen from Fortification, which he's currently aligned with, the safe house, then we're going to interrogate him so he loses his rank. That's going to make him a free agent and give us a higher chance to encounter him outside of the safe house encounters. Or not safe house encounters, but so safe house associations. I'm not sure that makes any sense to you unless you already know a bit of this, but it will all make sense in due time. But we're going to remove his rank, make him a free agent, and then try and move him over here if we get the option to do that at some point. We also got a level up, I see. Let's do that. Man, I'm looking forward to getting Ancestral Bond. Alright, so we can see up here by the... Greater Life Flask. Let's get that. Might be better. We can see up by the map here, this red indicator here, right? This is always indicating that there's a corrupted zone. It's basically an icon for corrupted zone. And we're going to go up there so we can try and see if we can get a good Vol Gem or a Fragment or something like that. One thing to say here, as we pass through the den holds an optional quest. And I never do this. Like, it's never worth the time in my opinion, but go ahead, like, if you just want to get the experience of doing it. Basically, I don't even think, do we even have the quest to do it? I'm not sure we talked to Royce, but basically we will be getting a quest, or maybe it's Helena, that will ask you to go to the den and kill a big white bear. As if the polar bears weren't extinct enough as it is, right? Let's get the essence before we go into the other one too. This was an essence of woe, and this is the one You can compare it to the Essence of Greed that we found earlier, but this one here is energy shield focused instead and will help give you more energy shield on your armor. The higher tier it is, of course, the better results it will give when you use it. And Scarlet Stink Energy Weaver is the name of this guy. And there we go. Excellent. And as you can see, Whispering Essence of Woe. If we put this on armor, for instance, it will give 3 to 4 or 3 to 5 maximum energy shield. This is very low, right? But you get the point, and these are very, very useful once you get them higher upgraded. Let's see what the greater... Ooh, yes. Bubbling and Seething are, in my opinion, some of the absolute best prefixes you can get on a life flask. At least generally speaking. What it does is that it makes a portion, in this case with the bubbling, it makes a portion of the heal that you receive instant. And this means that it's... Let's try and do it like it. Let's let them have them deal some damage to me. Normally when you click a healing flask, it will start regenning like really fast, right? With the bubbling... Okay. that was the wrong one. I need some charges, one sec. Man, that was anticlimactic. I know you were all rating. Holy shit, it's going to be insane. Is he actually going to get instant health here? But I like to give you the example. So with bubbling, you click it, you get instant health, as you could see, and then it regens a little. With Seething, all of it is instant, but there's no extra regen on top of it. And these are very, very useful if you're having trouble staying alive, because a lot of the damage in Path of Exile is spiky, and you cannot always rely on slowly regenning it up, right? So the instant health here makes a big difference, and it's very, very, very important that you guys understand that flasks in Path of Exile is just as important as the skill you're using. Flasks are, in my opinion, probably the biggest skill indicator for a player in Path of Exile. If you can use your flasks properly, together with your skills, that is one of the things that implies whether or not you're going, or if you are a good Path of Exile player or not. Because flasks have a lot of utility, right? In this case, it's pretty simple right now. We just have a couple of life, mana, and some Quicksilver flasks. But when you get further in, you can have the ones that give you Onslaught, attack speed bonus. You can get a lot of unique flasks that give Leech, or you can get something that gives you more projectiles, etc. And it all has to be used at the same time. So it needs to be looked and viewed as, you know, just a different form of using your skills. Your flasks are basically a part of your skills too. And if you use them correct, you're going to get a much better outcome than if you just randomly tap them as you see fit. So don't get... the reason I'm saying this is because often when I'm streaming, or if I see my YouTube comments, a lot of people are asking if they can make it easier to use their flasks, if they could use some kind of tool to press all of them at the same time or something like that, which, by the way, is against the TOS. You can get banned for doing that, so I don't advise you to do that. But a lot of people still seem to get tempted to do so. But it's much, much better if you learn how to do it yourself, rather than relying on a third-party tool that's not that's against the TOS. Just look at this like you're training. You're becoming better at the game by practicing flasks, and it's not that hard when you get into it. So we're in a corrupted zone. Corrupted zone always have like this. It's only one zone, and it will take you to a vault vessel, and at the end there is a mini boss, a zone mini boss. This one here is actually rather annoying. Actually, I've wanted to show you this. You see this here, the Arcane Search, it just leveled up. But because the mana requirement of Arcane Search to proc for a Flame Search, we don't want it to be higher, right? So instead of keep leveling it up, I right-clicked it up here. If you right-click something like I'll do on the Onslaught right now, it disappears. It won't notify you again, so you can get it away, right? And it will just remain at the level where you put it away, right? Let's grab this one here, and then we'll deal with the boss. But this boss is pretty annoying actually, because it has a proximity shield. The proximity shields are, there's some monsters in the game that has that. And basically it means that you have to be within the shield to deal damage to it. And depending on what build you're playing, then that can be very frustrating. We got it down now. And what are we getting? We're getting Ooh! I mean, how lucky can we be, guys? We're getting Vol Arc. There's a Vol Grand Slam too. We don't care about that. We're not going to use that. But Vol Arc. Is this just the best day of your life? I think it is. So this gives us a good opportunity to talk a little about Vol skill gems. So Vol Arc, it's basically a corrupted version of Arc that we have here. This one is level 1 and this one here is level 2. So if you have a Vol Arc, basically it's a 2 for 1 type of deal you're getting with Vol gems in this case. Because if I were to put Vol Arc into this setup here, I still am going to have regular Arc. We're going to put that on our space button here as we had before with the normal Arc. But we now also have the Vol version of it. And you can see like with the blood drop there, that indicates it's the Vol version. I typically always have that on T, but that's irrelevant for the use of it. But as you can see, we now have 2 skills for from one skill gem here. Vol gems, however, are different to regular gems. The Arc, as we have it here, you can see we can just cast it as we see fit. But the Vol Arc, you can see it's been grayed out, and there's a 0 here in the corner. And that's because in order for a Vol gem to be able to be cast, it needs souls. And if you look at the top right corner of the description, you can see it says souls 0 out of 25. Once we get 25 souls, we can use Vol Arc. And let me try and show you that. The difference between Vol Arc and the regular Vol Arc is basically that Vol Arc will any monster in range that the skill is able to chain onto, it will keep chaining until there's no one left, or until it has changed on all the monsters. Or chained, I think it's changed. So let's find some monsters here we can kill. We'll just go into the next zone, I think, because there was another corrupted zone up there. And that's another thing to show you too. When you change zones, Vol gems, they reset their soul count. So you can't, for instance, charge up your Vol gems and they go into a boss zone unless it's not. Sometimes it can be a little hard to understand because zones in Path of Exiles are when, you know, there's a loading screen between them. However, some places you can just click a door and you go instantly to it. If there's no loading screen, it's the same zone, just a different place in the zone. And then you will retain the souls. It's only if there's a loading screen between. But as you can see, when we kill stuff here, it starts to charge up in the corner. All right, and you can see, boom, we have this beating heart going on right now. What this means is that we can use our Vol Arc now. If we use our Vol Arc, let's try and find a lot of monsters. Vol Arc will then basically keep chaining on all the monsters that we have in range. It can only chain onto a target once, so it will not keep going back until the monsters are dead necessarily, but it will hit all of them that it's able to jump onto. And it will make us lucky. Lucky is a mechanic in Path of Exile that basically means that it rolls twice. Some people mistake it for a critical strike, which makes sense because it's typically used for critical rolls to get extra critical strike. But in this case, it refers to the damage that Vol Arc delivers, basing it, allowing it to roll twice, which can be a pretty significant damage bonus. And that's why a lot of people put Vol Arc not as like their main skill when they use it, or in their main skill gem setup, but rather in a 4-link together with increased duration and efficacy and such to increase the duration of the lucky buff that they will get when using it. Okay, so we can see the boys here. We're going to use our Vol Arc now. And as you can see, it changed onto all of them, right? And yeah, I think it was showing up here, but it didn't last for long. But I think that was the lucky bonus that we saw up there. Then when you've used a vault skill, the vault skills will have a downtime where you cannot regenerate souls. That is to prevent you from being able to spam them. But there are ways to make that work. You can actually do perma vault skills for some of the vault skills, not all of them. But we're gonna go in here. Let's try and see if we're gonna use Vault Arc again in here. I would like to get some more monsters in here just for the fun of it, but either way, we're just gonna use it. And we can see lucky, your arc damage is lucky. And that means that that applies to the other arc skill that we use to the regular arc. It's not just for the Vault arc. So basically, when using Vault Arc, we buff the damage of a regular arc, and it works as a great, you know, damage dealer if there's a lot of enemies, and it can chain onto all of them. Now we're running out of flash charges here, so we have to be a little careful. We have our Vault Arc up again, as you can see. Not really, not unless they gather up, we're not going to use it. I would like to get some flash charges, but I think the other one is trying to escape. We can't have that. Vault Arc. Okay, I think. No, he teleported. Oh shit, dude. This is not good. We're gonna flame dash. We're gonna try and get some flash charges up here. This is what happens when you're talking and playing. Okay, we're just gonna go full rainbow mode here and get them. And we'll get our amazing freeze pulse toning down. Boom, one shot. Chicken dinner, and boom. So we have It That Fled here. We don't want him on fortification. It That Fled, we either want in research or we want him in intervention for his rewards. So we are not going to go with that option. Come on, stupid necromancer. So let's see what Riker has. We can get rank on him. Sure, that's fine. And then we will talk to It That Fled again to see. Drop some currency items. I'm all for that. Let's get it. And we're good. So that was a quick introduction to Arc or to Vault Gems. We're going to go into that again because we'll be using some other Vault skills later. But basically know that Vault Gems, it's a 2-for-1 deal. You get both the regular skill and then the Vault version. But in order to get or use both, you have to select the regular one as you would normally use down here, and then the Vault skill. On a second button to be able to proc it, and then you need souls in order to be able to cast it. The highest level of the gem, or maybe it's been, I can't remember if where it is that it differentiates now, but the further you get up, the more souls it's going to require for you to cast it. And I think it may be when you kill Kitava the first time, and then the second time, I think the soul cost increases by then. At least that would make sense. Previously, it used to be per difficulty, so from normal, cruel, and merciless, it would increase. And then after you have used the Vault Arc or Vault Gem, there will be a soul gain prevention, which is the period of time where you cannot gain souls for your Vault Gem. And in our case, we can see that is 6 seconds. And then after that, you can start building it up again. It also can be supported by support gems like your regular Arc can. So for us, Added Lightning is supplying it, and Onslaught. Alright. I think there was another corrupted zone. Where did we see the other corrupted zone? Wasn't it? Oh, or maybe it's... No, that's just the way down, isn't it? Maybe not. It could have been in the southern forest too. We do want to do the whole menagerie thing too, but I think for this time around, guys, let's end it on the Vault Gem node and continue from here in the next episode, where we will be going into the Chamber of Sins, and then we will go into the Fell Shrine for the Labyrinth trial. We also want to go up here to deal with Kraken. We want to do the Bestiary quest down here in the riverways. We may even start doing so because that's the more efficient experience, as we talked about earlier, in this zone. And then we will eventually be heading into the Western Forest and getting some nice support gems. We'll be getting our heralds from doing this up here. This is going to be a nice damage boost too. Although we are mind over matter, maybe we'll start by using one herald to get some damage, but because we don't want to reserve all our mana, for mind over matter, so we have some mitigation. We will not be using all of them. Alright, I hope it was useful. As always, guys, thank you very much for watching these. I enjoy making them, and I hope you enjoy watching them. I hope they are at least informative in some way. Thank you very much, and bros, do you even nerd?